If your DMs were a zoo, what animals would be in there right now?
Oh, wow. I mean, my DMs are interesting at times. Sometimes there's lovely things, and then sometimes people are just giving me information that I don't really need to know.
Yep. Is there a sport you'd recommend every man should try?
I think every man should try a at least once.
Okay.
My thing is you don't know until you try it.
Yep.
And try everything twice in case you didn't do it right the first time.
If you were going to give young guys advice about sex, dating, what have you, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, there's a lot to give, I guess.
Sure.
But,
We've got time.
I think...
Hi Wildies, this is Matt. I'm here with Kyron Kruger, who you might recognize as the faces from one of our photo shoots a while back.
You might not recognize me because I got a pretty lush mustache now.
That is true.
Yeah, I remember we had an event for the launch the other week and I saw some photos of me up on the wall and I sort of forgot what I looked like.
Completely clean shaven. Yeah. How would you describe yourself in terms of what you do?
It's really, I am a content creator, so I work in the adult industry.
Yep.
Also work as a model, but obviously the modeling I does is a little bit more alternative. And I originally sort of started in the fetish world and did a lot of like kink content and alternative modeling. Things have just sort of really grown from there.
Did you have a lot of experience with sex toys before you modeled for us?
Yeah, I've used them. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I mean, they're an ally, not an enemy. I find sex toys. So yeah, it's one of those funny things. Some people get a bit like intimidated by bringing them into the bedroom and think it's a bit 100%. Of an attack on their masculinity. My priority has always been that everyone has a good time, not just me. So no, sex toys for me have always been a tool rather than a threat. Yeah.
So if you had to pick your favorite tools, what would they be?
Oh, I mean, I love a wand. A wand is always helpful. Yeah. I like a little, like I'm a bit, I guess, kinky, I guess. So I like some handcuffs and maybe some collars and gags and stuff like that. That's usually in my toolkit.
Talk to us about a wand, because so many people look at that and go, I don't know what to do with it. So how is a wand great?
Penetrative sex isn't the be all and end all and won't always help them achieve orgasm. So whether that's clitoral stimulation or even you can even do it with things like playing with people's nipples or any other sensory areas of your body that can sort of heighten the experience. So I guess it's just like adding some extra stimulations to other parts of the body, whether you're using it simultaneously with having sex or it's just clitoral stimulation.
Is there a sex toy you'd recommend every man should try?
I think every man should try a butt plug at least once.
Okay. Yep.
My thing is you don't know until you try it.
Yep.
And try everything twice in case you didn't do it right the first time.
Okay, Lubrex, got any?
I think it's called Wet Stuff, the brand I use. I use silicone a lot, but I also use the water-based one as well. I mean, I guess it depends. Silicone-based can stain and get stuck in quite a few things, whereas water-based is sort of easier to get out of things.
But then you have to keep wetting it again, putting more on.
So there's benefits to both, but it really is situational and what you're doing.
How did you get into creating adult content? How did that journey happen?
Yeah, it was never really intentional. I never set out to be a porn star or anything like that. I was sort of just like making my own little Instagram, effectively just to like meet other like-minded people like me, and then it sort of snowballed from there. I had like photographers and companies starting to reach out. Like it wasn't like overnight by any means. Like probably 6 or 7 years has really been going on, and then I found myself in an industry which I love, and I've sort of always been sort of around people that work in the industry. But it was never a plan. I just sort of found myself here. Yeah.
Part of being in the adult industry is often body image, physique, looking a certain way. How, like, for people who have seen your Instagram or Twitter, how much work does it take to build and maintain your body?
I go to the gym probably 5 to 6 times a week. And that's not entirely for my vanity, which a big part of it is, like everyone wants to look good naked. But I do it like a lot for my mental health and stuff like that. But obviously there's an element where you're seeing me with not much clothes on, if not any. And you want to look good, and like that's a part of what I do. You have to sort of appeal to the gaze of your audience.
One of the things that we do see with younger men is there's a perception that being an adult content creator is going to be glamorous, and wouldn't it be great to get paid for sex? Is it great?
I think I worked really hard to get to this point. It's not all what people think it is. There's a lot, it's also a lot harder for, I guess, men to make this viable as a career. there is a gender pay gap. Women will make more than us.
Yeah.
And that's something you have to accept, and you might have to work harder than a lot of people do to make it a viable career. Early days, it was tough for me, like trying to be consistency and getting that audience, and you might get lucky and get something that can get some popularity quickly, but it is a lot about respect, and people will check references. So I will reach out to other people I've worked with to see what I was like and go by that. So you really got to make sure you do the right thing by everyone to the best you can.
One comment I do hear a lot from male content creators is that no matter what they do, they get a lot more attention than they expect from men. Is that something you can relate to?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's where most of the money, financially comes from, is from our male followers. But that's not necessarily true all the time. Like, obviously, I have a lot of female followers and diverse followers who contribute to, maybe purchasing or subscribing or whatever it is. But yeah, I would say there's a large percentage who are male that sort of engage and want to engage with you.
You've made content about it, but what's your non-Insta take on the male loneliness epidemic?
Yeah. I mean, it is a strange one, because I've sort of like taken the piss out of it a little bit and saying that the reason there is a male loneliness epidemic is because of people like me.
Everyone, you heard it here.
But I think a lot of women are just sort of taking charge and not accepting the status quo. And there is a part of me that feels a bit empathetic to particularly young men growing up who all on the internet, all they see is about how awful men are. And I think this sort of stuff can polarize people, and that's why we get to this point where everyone's like at opposite ends of the spectrum and no one's willing to sort of come together and meet and make compromises and listen to each other. And even like, we see like the content about like clickbaity stuff. Sometimes we are feeding into that a little bit, and I think you gotta be really careful about just creating more anger and sort of hate on the internet.
With collaboration and content creation, how does it affect dating?
It can be tough. I'm quite fortunate that I sort of date people who are quite accepting of that. My peers who are women have a lot of problem with this. Like guys who might they sort of idolize the fact that they're in the industry, but then once they're in a relationship, are like, actually, no, I don't want you to do this anymore. And like, well, you knew this all along. And now things have gotten serious. You want to sort of me to take a step back, and this is my livelihood. This is my independence that you want to take away.
This is where I earn my money.
Because you're a little bit insecure about it, but you weren't before, but now it's a bit more serious. And I always find that they're more worried about what people externally think of them than what their partner thinks.
We'll put a pin in that and come back to it, because I've got some questions about that. But if your DMs were a zoo, what animals would be in there right now?
Oh, wow. I mean, some snakes, some lizards. Geez. My DMs are interesting at times. Sometimes there's lovely things, and then sometimes people are just giving me information that I don't really need to know.
Yep, no, we get that too.
A lot of people just like shooting their shot, I guess.
Yep. You should chat to our CS team one day.
Yeah, that would be interesting, because that would be funny, because you're clearly a brand. Like, who do they think they're talking to? At least with me, they think they're talking to me. Well, they are talking to me.
Yeah.
I do find it funny. I've even had like similar things people who are photographers, and clearly they're shooting with different people every time, but people engage with them thinking that they're one of the people in the shoot.
Yes, no, I've seen that.
I'm like, that's clear. Like, I'm clearly a photographer, and even sometimes me. I've shot with various women and performers, and they message me as if they're talking to the person that I've photoshopped.
That's so weird.
And I'm like, can you see the common thing throughout the videos that I'm in all of them? That means that's probably me.
Wrong person.
Yeah.
What is the difference between sex for content and sex in real life?
I think sex for content is very performative.
Yeah.
So there's certain angles or sounds and things that are done for the camera, and if that's a certain angle or a view that you're trying to get. But yeah, I think the main part is probably a little bit more intimacy and that connection you feel. Like, people need to remember, like, we are putting on a performance.
Yeah.
That's not how we all have sex all the time. Whether that's just like through sex or whether you do it, whether it's fetish or anything like that. Everything should be discussed beforehand, what our boundaries are, what we're comfortable with and what we're not comfortable with. There's always been like really strong chats about consent leading up and leading into, and also just checking in throughout, which is a huge thing. And I think that people don't realise. I think as an industry, we probably do the most to ensure everyone's consenting and checking in and making sure everyone's feeling comfortable throughout the process.
So on that, because that is a really big topic, what does that sort of sound like a pre scene conversation?
Yeah, I guess originally there's a conversation when they'll reach out, and generally I'm like, okay, like what are you looking to film? Like what is it I guess, have you got any specific things that you want to get out of this shoot? What are you comfortable with? What do you want to do? What you can't do? Is there anything you don't like? It could be as far as like words and things that you call them. I don't really like to start a shoot until I know exactly like sort of what the layout of the shoot is, because you would hate to get sort of halfway in and be like, okay, I don't really want to do this, and then have to pivot. And we will stop and check in. The video you might see might be flowing, but there probably has been periods where we've stopped, started, checked in, see how everyone's going, and continue on. But yeah, like the consent piece is a huge part of the industry, and like particularly me as like a male industry, that's hugely important for me. And I've got the privilege that these people like trust me and allow me to do these things with them and create this content. So it's something that I really have to make sure that I'm really on top of. But it's also just a thing I think as men in particular we have to be on top of. It's like consent and checking in and making sure everyone's enthusiastically enjoying and involved in the process. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. Consent, do it.
Yeah.
If you were going to give young guys advice about sex, dating, what have you, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, there's a lot to give, I guess.
Sure. But, we've got time.
I think being communicative about what you want and being clear and honest and I guess not feeling shame about things. Like I think growing up I felt a lot of stigma and shame about some of the things that I enjoyed, and there's going to be people that might, turn your nose away, but at the end of the day, like they're not really the people you want to be around. Also, like, and obviously, like listening to them, I guess you don't want to be one of those people that just sort of like thrust your desires onto someone, and you aren't really listening to what they're looking for, and also just accepting that maybe things aren't between you. That's not what they're looking for, and that's okay, and not trying to force your fantasies or desires onto other people. So much goes back to like just having this like open chats about consent, and if you're open and honest and clear, in the long run you'll find what you're looking for, and I guess have a much better relationship with sex going forward as well.
One last question, it's a silly one. If there was a sex Olympics, what would you win gold for?
Oh my God. I think I am. Oh, wow, this is a hard question. I've had people give feedback on my content that they love watching me go in missionary, which I think is a bizarre, because it is one of the more, I guess, vanilla positions.
Yeah.
I think I have a good butt, so I guess the thrusting motion of my bum is what people enjoy about. So I guess I would be in like the 100-meter missionary or something. I guess. Yeah.
Everyone look out for Kyron's butt. You know where to find him. Where can people find you online?
So I have a few different handles. So I have the Kyron Kruger on Instagram, or King_Kruger_ whatever. And yeah, I'm on TikTok and stuff as well. So
fantastic.
And there's links and stuff
links
there.
To everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure we link everything for you guys.
If you want to get to know me. But yeah, so I'm online. You'll see me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.